Hey everybody, I'm here today to tell you why I spend way less financially than I can afford to spend financially. That's right. Here's why I spend way less than I can afford to spend, okay? There are 4 distinctive reasons and I'm going to outline them throughout this video, okay? So I spend way less than I can afford to spend, even compared to my friends and family members, even compared to the national average, the international averages of percentage of spending of your income on certain things. I spend way less on my cars. I spend way less on my housing. I spend way less on my food. And there are specific reasons behind that, okay? I'm going to go over the 4 reasons why I do it and why I would advise you to spend way less than you can afford to as well. Now, obviously, you know what you can afford. My recommendation is that you spend less than that, okay? So number 1, I am future-proofing myself. Anything can happen in the future, okay? Wages can get cut, salaries can get cut, interest rates can go up, expenses can go through the roof. It happens all the time. And many people complain when expenses go up. And I find that the people that are complaining about expenses going up or income getting slashed are the people that are not prepared for it. So by spending way less than I can afford, I am therefore putting more money into my investments, into my bank, into my savings, into anything that actually holds the money instead of me spending the money. And I am future-proofing myself for anything that happens in the future. I'm basically prepared for anything. With health things aside, because that is, very much not really controlled by money, at least for the most part. With those things aside, I'm prepared for anything financially that can happen. I am absolutely prepared. That's why I do it. That's the main reason why I do it, okay? Number 2, so I can retire early. Listen, I don't want to be working till I'm 65. I don't want to be working till I'm 55. I don't even plan on being working till I'm 45. Okay, I plan on retiring way before that. To be honest with you, if I played my cards right, I could probably retire very thinly right now. And by thinly, I mean like on a lean budget, but I don't want to retire on a lean budget. I want to drive my Ferrari around every day in the future. So I'm not going to retire now, but I could, if I had a very lean budget and a very tight lifestyle, I could easily retire now with my wife. We could both retire easily. Okay, so by doing this, by spending way less than I can afford, I allow myself to retire earlier than everyone else. And I truly do enjoy my job, but I don't want to work. I literally want to retire as early as I can while having the lifestyle that I desire. It's not about not liking your job. If you don't like your job, find another job. But retiring early is about making the choice. You can still choose to work, but by retiring early, you can work less or not at all, or just whenever you want. You can volunteer. The sky's the limit. The third distinctive reason is that you appreciate it more in the future when you actually get the thing that you want. Okay, so for instance, if right now I can afford this car, but I choose to buy this car right now, then in the future, when I boost up my income even more and I can afford this car as being way less than I can afford, if you can follow what I'm saying, I appreciate it more. Right now, I can afford a car that's worth this amount of money, but instead I chose to buy a car that's worth this amount of money. As I increase my income, with that same percentage of spending on a car, I can then get this car later and I'll have a bigger appreciation for it just because I've waited for it. So by delaying the gratification, you appreciate it more when you get it. There are lots of things that my friends do that I could totally afford to do and they can't afford, but they're doing it anyways. The cars that they drive, the lifestyle that they lead. And I'll get there, but when I get there, I'm going to have a better appreciation for it because it took me longer. I waited longer to get there. So by delaying your gratification, by setting your standards higher, by spending less percentage of your income than average, than like you could afford, let's say you could afford to spend 30% of your income on this, but you're spending instead 15%. When that 15% can afford you what was the 30% before, you appreciate it more, okay? Lastly, the 4th reason, and this is probably one of the more important reasons, and that's so that my kids don't feel entitled or spoiled, okay? If I spent what I could afford to spend, my kids would be part of a lifestyle that would cause them to maybe feel a little bit entitled, maybe be a little bit spoiled. And to be honest with you, I grew up, I had some friends that were a little bit spoiled, had some family members that were a little bit spoiled. I've met lots of spoiled kids through my career, which you'll know if you follow my videos, you'll know what I do full time. I see spoiled kids, the way they speak to their parents and stuff. And I don't want my kids to be like that. I want them to understand the value of hard work and the value of working harder for the same thing that someone else works this much for. So if I spend less than I can afford, I have to work this much for the same thing that someone else works this much for. They see that and they see the value that hard work produces. So it's it's also to prevent my kids from being entitled or spoiled. I love them with all my heart, and I know that when you spoil a kid or you make a kid entitled, their whole life actually suffers, right? And I don't want my kids to suffer from an entitlement or spoiling that I would give them. So that's why by spending less than I can afford, it somewhat prevents them from feeling entitled and spoiled. Of course, there are things that I do for myself that they see. So if I buy myself an expensive watch, they see that, and the watch is for myself, and they're going to see that, and that might bring a sense of entitlement to them, thinking my dad has this watch. But I'm not going to sort of that still is spending less than I can afford, right? I still want to reward myself and spend less than I can afford, but spending less than I can afford might still mean buying a Ferrari one day. Like spending 5% of my income on a car might be a Ferrari one day. So there are certain things that are unavoidable if you want to still reward yourself, but I want to sort of delay that as much as I can and show them the value of the hard work that it took to get there. So that's it. That's why I spend less than I can afford. And honestly, it just stops you from caring about what other people think of you, because other people are spending more than they can afford and you're spending less. So you're just doing things for yourself, not to show off to other people. And it's a great lifestyle to lead. I've never been happier in my entire life. I'm so happy. It's unbelievable, So that's it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.